So welcome back. Today I need to get this thing ready for inspection. I need to get the e-brake cable on, which I bought another one. I think it's the second or third one. I need to aim the front headlights, set the ride height on the front suspension, and try to get it aligned as close as possible. I'd like to lower the rear a little with this adjuster here. Just bring it up a notch. It sits a little too high for my taste. I'd also like to do some other stuff like fix this rear package tray. The glue didn't really stick, so I'll have to redo it. It blows around in the wind. Possibly clean it. And I'll probably go over like what I've done and what I haven't done yet. I've pretty much done everything. I also need to fix the gas gauge. It's actually not the right gas gauge. I need one with different ohms, it's up under the dash. But it's not the gas gauge that's the problem. So I gotta either pull the tank or pull the sending unit or pull both. So this is the intermediate parking brake cable that I've selected. There's a cable that runs from the pedal to the cross member, and then this one does a loop from each back wheel up under the exhaust to the other back wheel. The problem I was encountering was when I got this car, the intermediate cable was gone, the front cable was frozen, the rears were frozen up solid. So I've ended up getting rear cables that were from a really low mileage car, but they're shorter than apparently what they should be. They only go to the brackets on the back, which is similar to the wagon, which means it needs a longer intermediate cable. So when I bought the correct 62 intermediate cable, it was way too long, or way too short, one or the other. So I searched around and got some measurements and asked some friends and people, and this is the one I came up with. So we're going to try to thread it through and see if it works. This piece is a little shorter than the one that was here, but it's crimped on, so I'm not going to fight that battle. Let's see if this works. So what you do is you take these little clips, you feed them through, and you do the same thing at the cables on the rear end. And hopefully this is the right way. One side down to go. Not even close. Not even close. Maybe the foot pedal's pushed down. Foot pedal was pushed down. I don't think that's gonna do it. Yeah, that's not gonna do it. That's not even close. My third cable. Can't find one that's the right length. So this is the correct cable, the one it calls for. It's clearly way too short. This is the one that's the correct length, according to someone else with a 62. That one's too short. And this one is one I measured and ordered, and it's way too long. So I really need an e-brake cable. I imagine I could buy some cable and put some ends on, but I don't know if I have the correct tools to do that. And I don't really want to not have an e-brake with a manual transmission. But this thing needs to pass inspection in just a few days, so I might just have to take this one again and make it work. So I cobbed it. I took some cable clamps and did the best I could to get this thing inspected. The gist of it is that U-bracket, the cables are supposed to be able to, you know, self-adjust so they're even. So I had to like pull on it and make them even, kind of, because now they're kind of permanent there. So it needs to be adjusted. The car still rolls, but at least it'll pass inspection and I can find another cable or make another cable. Onward. Before I go adjusting the suspension, I'm going to get a before here. So the idea is it needs to come up a little in the front, and I think it needs to go down a little in the rear. Just a bit. And I can do that by adjusting the spring mount in the front. Right there. So luckily I was smart enough to put the bolt head on the outside and put washers on it, because I think I initially had it the opposite way, because once you tighten it, the bolt would be against the frame, so with the washers it's not. So I'm just gonna lower it just a bit. I think it needs it. And then I can adjust the front height, and then once I set the ride height in the front, I can do the alignment, and then I can adjust the headlights. And the e-brake's been cobbed, as you saw, and it works. I adjusted it. These e-brakes were never fantastic, but it'll slow the car down if there's an emergency or... Alrighty, first things first. Let's get this up on jack stands and see about lowering that rear. Had to find the happy medium where that bolt would just come out. Now I should be able to just jack it up. Let's see what happens. Just needs a little persuasion forward. There we go. This nut just barely fits. It's bigger than factory. Let's see if we hit pay dirt. Got it. Okay, tighten that up. Do the other one. And onto the front suspension. Okay, not as high. Onto the front. That wheel's turned in a little. And that wheel is turned in a tiny amount. So, set the ride height. And do a rudimentary alignment and see what happens. I actually kind of like the ride height. It's more even now. The rear down. So there's just a little bit of the tread not showing. Just tucked under there. Same with the front. Both sides and the front are the same. So I think I'll adjust camber, caster, steering, see what I come up with. These Mopars, you adjust the upper control arms here. That gives you camber and caster. And then the steering arms need to be adjusted. So let's see what I can do here. So with these old Mopars, you're supposed to adjust everything and then compress the suspension, see where you're at, and then take it for a test drive, obviously. Kind of liking that one. We'll do the other one and see how they both look. So I adjusted these steering arms, which are Pro-Forge, and I got Pro-Forge ball joints and steering things and everything else. But I left these loose because I know I didn't adjust the suspension yet, and I left the lower control arm bolt loose because you need to torque it when the suspension's down, and I didn't set the ride height or the alignment or anything. So I've been driving around with these loose for 200 miles, proving once again I'm an idiot, but it's not like they're gonna fall off. But alright, so I got this side done, quote unquote. I'll do the other side and then take it for a test drive and see how it goes. Hopefully straight. So I set the camber caster, adjusted the steering. It's not perfect, but it'll get me to the shop for an inspection. I set the alignment on this thing, and when I took it in for an alignment, the guy was like, it's pretty much dead on, we didn't change much. So I did the same thing to this, but I guess we'll find out. It's definitely not perfect. It seemed like the passenger side had more, I needed more of the steering arm to make it straight, but we'll take it for a test drive and see what happens. Hopefully it'll track straight. That'll be the test to make it drivable, at least. Alright, let's take it for a ride. So I took this for a ride, and it was pulling to the right like crazy, and I couldn't figure it out, so I came back and readjusted the alignment and camber and caster and all that, and was getting the same result. So I did a little research, and apparently if you jack it up and the steering wheel goes to one side all by itself like this, supposed to do is, and this is news to me, loosen these 2 top bolts on the power steering and then tap this little housing left or right, start it again, see which way the wheels turn, if they stay straight, and then, you know, if I tap it towards the driver's side and it slightly turns to the passenger side, tap it a little more to the driver's side. But I guess the key is loosen this a little, just enough to move this, because there's some O-rings under here. Tighten it back down, start it, see what happens. So we'll try that. I read the factory service manual, and it's paragraphs of how to adjust it, and it wasn't making sense. So apparently this is what you do, so we'll try that. Okay, it's fixed. But I don't think that was the reason. So like I said, it's fixed, but I don't think that was the reason. I loosened it and tried to tap this one way or the other. It wouldn't budge, up, down, back, forward, it wouldn't move. But it did leak fluid. So I'm like, all right, I'll just tighten it back up and see what happens. And the steering wheel is fine. It doesn't move wherever it is. So we'll take it for a test drive and see if it's aligned. Maybe it just needed to burp out some air or something. I had bled the system, so... Alright, we'll take it for a ride, see what happens. Oil pressure is good. That voltmeter keeps working and not working. Fuel gauge doesn't work, but I gotta fix that. I don't know what's up with the volt gauge. Everything's like to a power hub. So I've got an American Auto Wire harness. Just a connection somewhere. We'll figure it out. I can live with that. That's where the steering wheel is at when it's driving straight. It doesn't pull to the left or right. It doesn't pull when you brake. So the steering wheel is centered on the column. It's just right about there when you're driving straight, which I can live with. I'm going to call that a win. It'll at least get me to an alignment at some point. So yeah, leaked a little fluid. Probably have to check it, top it off. This car runs great. I stabbed that distributor in, checked the timing, and it was dead on. Starts right up. Doesn't hesitate. It's a little cold right now, so it hesitated a little there, but gotta get this headlights aimed. I'd like to finish or re-glue that package tray. And I think it's good. I think it sits better in the rear, matches the front. Old school Traeger GTs. Somebody did a stripe thing on this one. I was gonna paint it, but then I figured, what the heck. So I'll get it inspected, then I'll get on to other things like the interior and just finishing up some odds and ends. Get an alignment from somebody. Alrighty. Thanks for watching.
Oh, look at that. Wow. Look at that view. Can't see anything. Aren't you glad I started recording right now?
You missed the near-death experience with the chickens.
GoPro.
Did you just turn it back on?
I did.
It's stuck in a gear. I don't know which one.
It's your turn.
It's my turn.
And it's pullover time.
Wasn't I just saying something about this car?
Yeah. You jinxed it.
I mean, it's probably just the linkage got jammed somehow. I mean, at least it's in a gear, but what the heck? I think that's second.
So what's the plan?
At least it still moves.
So we're gonna go home all in second gear.
Haven't you always wanted to do that?
Make a ton of people mad? Yeah.
We're at 67 miles on it. Never had a problem with it. Until I said,
So you said it was a car and it was moving and working.
It's a brand spanking new shifter.
What are you gonna do to it?
I hit it with a hammer.
Can I do it too?
Sure. I think the problem is I got the transmission with 4 gears, but only the shifter with only 1 gear. It'd be worse if we stuck in neutral.
Yeah.
Maybe I should just stop talking.
Yeah. Oh my god. Someone's having a barbecue. It's that or their house is on fire.
This happened once in the Barracuda.
I can't remember.
It's too traumatic.
It's a very tough day for me. But no, I just don't remember. Whew. I'm tired.
All that nothing.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to bring over my wooden blocks.
So you can play with them?
No. So I can paint them. Okay, turning this off.